Well, hello, it's nice to meet you. The pleasure's all mine.
Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Toronto-based jazz singer and songwriter Jacelyn. We caught up with her in early October to talk about her highly anticipated debut album, Dovetailing, that was released on October 16, 2020 worldwide. She is the kind of artist that loves a good challenge. She had to pivot her album launch that was set for early 2020 after the cancellation of a series of performances lined up to support the original release date. For this album, she raised $60,000 on Kickstarter by the end of a month-long campaign back in 2019, reaching her goal in less than 48 hours. She talked about this, the COVID-19 world, her life in music, and some hopes. Enjoy.
Thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz. I appreciate it.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to talk to you. You're my first interview for the process of releasing this album.
Wonderful. You know, one of the things that I've been talking about with a lot of musicians is kind of this process of COVID-19 and how everything is kind of, you know, transpired. And it's pretty evident with you that you were planning on doing this earlier, and then you had a Kickstarter campaign in 2019. Things were moving in the right direction. COVID happened. So, you know, this is your debut album. Talk to me a little bit about kind of how you got to this point in October where you're releasing it.
Well, you're absolutely right. I've definitely had to pivot a lot. Basically, it has shown me the resilience and strength that I have and the unlimited possibilities of kind of turning your creativity into more positive things and to help people heal. I believe music is medicine, no matter how we put it. So taking it back to that Kickstarter that you mentioned in 2019 in May, we were kind of nearing the end of the recording process, and I wanted to get it out. Basically, the spring of 2020 was the latest I wanted to get it out. And of course, once COVID hit, all these feelings kind of came crashing down because tours was canceled. It just seemed like a disaster, right? And once I got over my pity party, I just kind of did what most artists do who are independent artists. You just pick up the pieces and keep going, you know? And so here we are. And I really believe in divine timing. I mean, I've learned a lot in this process about myself, about other people, and I'm happy to release it during this time where maybe people do want to be relaxing at home and listening to music a little bit more.
Okay. So my second question to you was, for a debut album, it's a pretty big deal. You obviously want to hook people in. You already got buy-in because of Kickstarter, but what have you done from an artistic perspective with what you can bring to the music world that's really going to hook people in?
Well, my goal with this project was to engage jazz, like diehard jazz listeners in a different way, allowing them to access maybe other kinds of music that I collaborated with different artists. For instance, it's an explicit album. There's a track that has a guest artist, a rapper on it. There's some swear words, and this is not necessarily typical of a jazz album. And then on the flip side, I wanted to engage people who are more in, you know, pop and adult contemporary and soul or acoustic stuff that say, oh, jazz, no, I don't like jazz, that's not my vibe, to all of a sudden maybe find my music and get into jazz and go, wait, this is different and I like it. So that's what I wanted to do, because that's how I experienced jazz music myself. I was brought in a way where I had my judgments about it, and then it slowly got changed by way of collaboration.
So how does this music journey begin for you? Talk to me about where you were born and raised and kind of how you got into music.
Sure. I was born and raised in Mississauga, and that's just outside of Toronto. And nobody in my family was musical, but my mom was an actress, and a theater performer, and that's where I started as a young child in film and television. And I really enjoyed expressing myself and being creative, and I was encouraged to do that. It wasn't until I was in theater school and university that I found music by way of some of the theater students also did music. I never did musical theater because I felt that the music suffered. It didn't feel authentic enough, or the acting suffered. It didn't feel authentic enough. So I really was not into musical theater, but I slowly started to pick up a guitar and write some songs in my room. But I guess because I define myself solely as an actress, I felt it was really difficult to share that side of me. So it's actually very private and very secret until one day at a party, I had a little too much to drink and courage overcame me, and I sang a song that I wrote to a room full of musicians, and you could hear a pin drop, and all of a sudden they all came together and said, we need to get you in the studio and record some of these songs. So I was very much pressured and pushed to do it, and I'm very happy now that I was pressured and pushed to do it. And then I still didn't fully believe in what I was doing as an artist or take myself seriously as a musician. And so I started to represent other musicians, kind of like a shadow, wanting to be around it and in it. And that brought me to represent a musician called Galen Weston, the Galen Weston Band, and we went to APAP in New York City. And then I met Amina Figurova and a bunch of other awesome jazz cats, purely on the basis of representing another artist and not even talking about myself as a singer or songwriter at all. And then a few years down the road, they found out that I did music and, again, put into a situation where Amina's like, I want to produce and help you write and do everything for your first album. So I've now kind of gone all in, and I'm really happy that I have. I feel really great about it.
So what do you like the best about being a musician?
I like the storytelling. I think that my film and television and acting experience of telling stories and kind of stepping into someone else's shoes for a moment and experiencing a different human experience has what really ignites me as a writer and a musician, is that I get to do that in 3 to 5, 7 minutes. Step into someone else's life and their shoes and have a good time there.
So when we do return after COVID-19 is over and you get to actually properly, be in front of an audience for your album release, what do you hope both audience and musician gets from this time away from live music?
Appreciation and gratitude. During the pandemic, when we were on full-on lockdown, I had just recently moved into a condo, and I've never lived in a condo before. I've always lived in houses, and I didn't like living in this situation in the condo. That was before COVID hit, and I just felt there was a lack of community. Like, you have people that are really close neighbors, but nobody seems to know each other. And during the pandemic, I wanted to help other people in their mental health. And so I decided to do a hall concert, acoustic concert, every Sunday on a different floor, and invite people to open their doors or listen behind the door or like crack it open or come into the hall and sit on a stool, keeping distance. And we laughed, we cried, we had an amazing time, and I saw people connect and feel so grateful to just hear something that is creative and live and emotional and fully in the present moment. And it allowed us to have this sense of community, and that's what I miss the most about performing live from a listener perspective, but also as a performer. And that's what I hope that people appreciate and find so much gratitude for going forward.
That's wonderful. So everyone has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but you're living your life. Who do you think you are?
I am just a bundle of light, love, and joy. I mean, I still sit in my weathered bad days or moments, but I've really learned to embrace all the colors of my rainbow, and all the different shades and nuances, and the things that make me different and unique and weird are also the things that I'm learning to celebrate. So I think that I am just a very open, transparent, and loving person who also tries to bring that to her music.
That was great. Great way to wrap everything up. Hey, thank you for taking some time out. Good luck on the debut and the return to the world of music.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate it. And I listened to some of your stuff, and I'm really happy to be a part of whatever you're doing.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest singers and songwriters in Canada, America, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Jacelyn for her time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.